This hearing on North Korea will come to order. On February the 12th, North Korea conducted its third test, its most powerful test to date. A nuclear weapon, a smaller weapon, because North Korea is working on miniaturizing its weapon in order to place it on the head of an ICBM. This followed December's launch of a three-stage intercontinental ballistic missile. So we've had test after test, we've had broken promise after broken promise, and successive administrations, both Republican and Democrat, have clung to an unrealistic hope that one day North Korea will suddenly negotiate away its nuclear program. It's a hope that in 1994 many of our senior members here shared when we passed the Nuclear Framework Agreement 19 years ago with North Korea. But during that whole period of time that we attempted to engage, we found instead that North Korea was perfecting their weapon, was violating those negotiations. So the approach that we have taken has failed. And 3 nuclear tests later, I think we have to be realistic. We have to find a better alternative. A failed approach to North Korea doesn't result in just a more dangerous situation on the Korean Peninsula. It, in fact, has resulted in a more dangerous world. We know that North Korea helped build the carbon copy of their program in Syria on the banks of the Euphrates. We also know that Iran has directly benefited from North Korea's long-range missile technology. We suspect that they have benefited from the nuclear tests. Last month, Ranking Member Engel and I were in Northeast Asia, and it is clear from our discussions there that our North Korea policy must change. Today, we will look at the illicit activities that are underwriting North Korea's weapons programs. We're going to look at its illicit missile sales abroad, at its meth trafficking. This is the only country in the world that manufactures and then traffics in meth. We're going to look at their counterfeiting of U.S. $100 bills, and we're going to think about the reason why this country has been called the soprano state. We'll hear from one witness who will testify that North Korea's illicit money-making machinery continues to turn. But it is this dependency by the regime on illicit activities that can, in fact, be exploited. This is the Achilles heel. And we did this once. In the fall of 2005, the Bush administration targeted the Macau-based Banco Delta Asia for its money laundering role while U.S. money was being counterfeited. They were laundering for North Korea. And this led other banks in the region to shun North Korean business, which finally isolated the regime and cut off its ability to get hard currency. However, after Kim Jong-il made promises on its nuclear program, the pressure was prematurely lifted. Today, the current administration has done little to target North Korea's illicit activities. Instead, the administration has deferred to a policy over at the United Nations and has opted for strategic patience. The purpose of today's hearing is to examine how best to pressure North Korea's ruling elite by systematically restricting their access to that hard currency on which they depend. We'll hear from one witness who has firsthand experience spearheading such an effort. We'll be introducing legislation based on some of the ideas we'll hear today. It is important to realize that we have more options other than to simply rely on Beijing to do more. Disrupting North Korea's illicit activities will place tremendous strain on that country's ruling elite who have done so much harm to the people of North Korea. We must go after Kim Jong-un's illicit activities like we went after organized crime in the United States. Identify the network, interdict shipments, and disrupt the flow of money. This would sever a key subsidy for North Korea's weapons of mass destruction program, for only when the North Korean leadership realizes that its criminal activities are intentable do prospects for peace and security in Northeast Asia improve. I will now turn to our ranking member, Elliot Engel of New York, for his opening comments.